Welcome to Veteran Resource Podcast, where you will meet nonprofit organizations focused on improving the lives of veterans and their family members. Here is your host, Jeremy Paris.
Welcome, everybody, to episode 27 of the Veteran Resource Podcast. I'm your host, Jeremy Paris, and today's guest is Jim Cooper, also known as Coop, from the Maryland chapter of Heroes on the Water. Now, normally we go over some of the reviews, but today's interview goes a little bit long, so I'm going to cut those out today. But please, if you have not left a review in iTunes, you can go to veteranpodcast.com/iTunes and you can leave one there. Jim Cooper is from North Carolina and retired from the Army as a Chief Warrant Officer in 2000 after 21 years of service. Coop currently works for the Army as a civilian. 2 years ago, Keith Umberger and Coop took over the Maryland chapter of Heroes on the Water. Heroes on the Water helps our nation's warriors and veterans from all branches of the United States military unwind using the therapeutic qualities of fishing from kayaks. What looks like a day trip of paddling and fishing is in fact something much deeper and long-lasting. We're going to jump right into the interview. Coop, welcome to the Veteran Resource Podcast. How are you doing today?
Doing great, buddy. How are you doing?
I'm doing outstanding. I was actually out on a kayak yesterday, and I got another one planned for tomorrow. So feeling great about that.
That's where I'd rather be.
All right, so I want to start off kind of having you give just a brief outline or a brief description of what the organization is.
Well, Heroes on the Water is a nationwide organization based out of Texas. It chapters in every state. Well, not every state. We're in about 34, I believe. I'd have to go back and look exactly, but that's growing fast. And so what happens is in each state, you'll have at least one chapter in the states that we're set up in. Some states have multiple chapters, especially where you have large populations. And the chapter basically runs itself with guidance from national, of course. But each chapter is responsible for raising its own funds, and then with the help of national purchasing and putting on their own events. And so there are phases for each chapter as they start up, and they have to meet certain milestones within a certain period in order to take full advantage of the national support, as I would call it. And really, the chapters are made up a bunch of self-starters. We're all doing this because we want to. We're all doing this because we want to say thank you back to our service members and first responders.
Very cool. Very cool. And we're going to get into a lot more about the organization in just a little bit. Before we do, though, I wanted to get kind of a little bit more background on you. So tell me a little bit about you. Where did you grow up?
Well, I grew up in Wilmington, North Carolina.
Okay. And did you have any military background? Any family members or anything that were in the military?
My father served for a short time in World War II. Of my immediate family, that was the only one that I'm aware of. Now, uncles, grandparents, things of that nature, they served in World War II as well, and before that. But really, I grew up looking and watching all the war movies and everything. I think I probably wanted to be a cop and a soldier all my life.
Oh, interesting. So you went into the service when, let's see.
1979.
1979, you went into the service. And what branch did you go in?
I went into the Army.
Okay. And what did you go in as? What was your job in the Army?
Well, I was with the Wilmington Police Department before joining the military. So I decided to grow up a little bit. And my chief thought that was an excellent idea. So I went in the Army as a military policeman, and every intention of serving one tour and going back home. And I liked it so much, I just stayed in until I retired.
That's a lot more than just one tour.
Well, yes. By tour, I mean, back then your typical enlistment was for a 3-year period. At the end of that 3 year, you either re-enlisted as an enlisted person or you got out of the military. And so I stayed in. As a matter of fact, I had a state trooper from North Carolina who walked up to me a couple of months before. Sorry about that. Who walked up to me right before I was due to ETS. That's called in tour of service. And he handed me an envelope, and it was a slot for the North Carolina Highway Patrol Academy. He said, all you've got to do is get out and you're in. And by that time, they offered me an Army school that I'd always wanted to go to. And so I went with the Army, stayed with it.
Oh, great. Great. And so when you got out of the Army, what did you do then?
Well, I didn't get out. What happened was that I had that dilemma. I was looking at both of them, and the company commander really wanted me to stay in, offered me that school. I went to that military school, and I stayed in the military. I continued on being a military policeman, military police investigator until about 1985, at which time I changed jobs in the military.
Oh, okay. And what did you change over into?
I went into the intelligence field.
Oh, nice. Nice.
And it was very challenging, very interesting, and I stayed with it. I deployed a lot, and I was single throughout my entire career until the last 3 years. So I was the guy that all the commanders said, okay, we'll send you. So I was constantly gone. And
okay. And then once you got out, how did you get introduced to the organization?
Well, I was my last tour of service was at Fort Meade, Maryland, and I retired out of there. And of course, we had bought a house, so we stayed in the area. And tried to convince my wife to let me buy a boat. Didn't quite buy off on that idea, so we settled on a couple of kayaks. And it wasn't long after I was kayaking that I realized, I could fish from this thing. So I started fishing from it and really enjoyed it. And one day I came across a fishing forum in the Maryland area called Snag It Line. And while I was going through there, it had a lot of great information, a lot of great people. While I was going through, I came across an area called Heroes on the Water. And I was curious as to what that was, and I started reading it. And the guy that was running had actually started the chapter by himself at that point, was putting out information, trying to get volunteers and put on events to help service members. And I volunteered for it. And that one thing led to another. And next year, Keith Umberger and myself took over the chapter. It was last year.
Oh, wow.
We had a great year. Things went really well. The New Jersey chapter, which is a very well-established chapter, great bunch of guys. They helped us get on our feet, gave us some help actually came down and helped us with our first event. And then it was one event after another that first year. And things just snowballed from there. We've grown and grown ever since. We started out, I think, with approximately six kayaks, and got out there and sold T-shirts and pitched businesses and got donations, had some really good supporters that came in and enabled us to get to where we are now.
Okay. So the organization, what kind of programs do you guys do?
Heroes on the Water, our stick, so to speak, is we take service members and first responders out kayak fishing. Now, Heroes on the Water started primarily as an effort to help wounded service members. These are troops coming back from the combat zones that are wounded, going through treatment. And we got involved with that process as a way to allow these guys to take a day off, so to speak, get out on the water and relax in a stress-free environment, especially with people just like them, so that they could relax enough where they could actually start talking to each other, and this is very crucial to their healing process, because when you're injured, especially traumatically, and to an awful extent, as many service members are, the changes in both physically are clear, but the changes mentally are great. They suffer all kinds of, I'm not a doctor, so I'll struggle with some of the terms and causes, but suffice it to say that many times they become withdrawn when you're talking about traumatic injuries such as TBIs or traumatic brain injuries, amputations, burns.
Right.
They begin to doubt themselves and what they can do. And the military medical field is very at healing people. But the really difficult part is the mental well-being and getting them mentally healed. And what we provide is you yourself, you say you've been out on a kayak. I would be willing to bet that you've gotten out on a kayak and at least once come to the realization that this is probably one of the most peaceful, relaxing things you've done. It's like
absolutely.
Exactly. It's like everything flows out of you through the kayak straight into the water. There's not a time I don't come off the water feeling much better. And that's what we try to do for our service members and first responders. We try to give them a day where they don't have a care in the world. All they have to do is kick back, relax, have fun with like people, sharing like stories, comments. And I'll tell you, we know that we've been successful when they come back in. They may not catch fish, but we have yet to have anybody come back in without a huge grin on their face.
I bet.
That's when you know you've succeeded right there.
Yeah, last month I just moved over here to Annapolis. I'm right on Back Creek. So the apartments where I'm at, we have a club where we have kayaks available to us. And I just a couple days ago got the combination to be able to take the kayaks out. So it was 3 days ago. I've already been out twice, and I come home from work, I change, and I drop in the water, and I go until, usually when I'm coming back, I've already watched the sunset, and it's pitch black outside, and and I don't want to come in still.
I know there's a Lake Marburg. It's probably about 15 minutes from my house, and whenever I get a chance, I'll go there before the sun comes up and set up and wait, and I'll be sitting there and watch the sun come up over that lake, and the ducks are flying in, and especially given, depending on the time of the year, there'll be mist coming off the water. It's super quiet, and you get out amongst all that, and it's probably one of the most peaceful environments I've ever been in.
Yeah, I bet. So what areas do you guys normally go out fishing?
We go all over the state of Maryland. If it's a body of water that has fish, we'll go for it.
Nice.
Especially if it's that's the general idea. We're always looking for new places, but our goal is to try and hit throughout each season as much of the state as possible to give the most amount of people the opportunity to fish with us. So we'll go into Chesapeake. We'll go in. There's a farmer that has a private pond that's stocked that allows us to use it. We do Potomac River float starting in Brunswick and working down. Mattawoman Creek, Roman Coke off of Kent Island. You name it, we'll go to it.
Nice. And is there like a calendar of events or something somewhere online that people can see where you're going to be next?
There is. Most of the chapters across the United States have a page on Facebook, and it's really easy. Simply do a search, Heroes on the Water, and then add the state that you're interested in, such as Maryland Heroes on. Will pop right up, and on these pages, you'll see what we've been doing since the chapter has been in existence. You'll have photographs, the standard Facebook page, you'll have photographs. We all typically have a tab called events, and if you hit that, it'll list the upcoming events. Some chapters put every one for the year on there. Other chapters we're one that tend to only put the next, say, 2 to 3 on. And one of our line of thought on that is, and it really depends on the demographics, veteran demographics in area. But our area, it seems that if we throw it all out there, you'll get people rushing to sign up for everything, but they don't end up coming to everything. because they forget that. So we give them 2 to 3 events coming up and talk to them, have reminders that go back, and that works well for us.
Great. And is this strictly just for veterans that are injured, or any veterans or first responders?
The way we look at it, if you've worn the military uniform, you're welcome to come fish with us. That means if you've retired, if you were medically retired, if you served one tour and got out, if you wore that uniform, we'll take you out kayak fishing. And as far as first responders, if you're a first responder or have been, same thing goes. And this goes for your families as well.
Oh, cool.
Oh yeah, we there's nothing, as a father myself, there's nothing I love better than to get a veteran out there with his son or his daughter or his wife even, and set them up with all the equipment so that they can get side by side and go fishing together and have that even better of an experience.
Yeah, I think my daughter would absolutely love that. She's 6 though, so she's only been in a double kayak.
All right. Tandem. We have a couple of tandems, and so we can either put a couple, be it a father-child or husband-wife, in the same kayak, or if the children are old enough and capable enough, we'll put them in a kayak right beside their parent.
Oh, that's pretty cool. And so I kind of wanted to get a walkthrough scenario for somebody. Let's say that it's me, and
okay.
And I find out about the organization, and I'm interested in being a part of this and maybe checking it out. What would it look like for me to what would I be going through to get involved?
Well, first off, depending on how, let's say it was you and you were talking to me, how we came to be talking to each other, either in person or on email or something, or possibly you came across our Facebook page and saw the events, and the pages are pretty descriptive, and especially if you look at our photos, because you get a very good visual at what we're all about and what we do. And it's very inviting type of activity, as you can imagine. You would either contact us on one of the contact points, but anyway, we started talking. What I would want to know is, have you ever served in the military or as a first responder? Because that puts you in what I would call our participant, at least initially, participant category. And I would invite you to come fishing with us. And I would tell you the events that are coming up, describe the locations, and invite you to come on out, especially bring your family. And that's what would happen. You'd come out, and what would happen, you would arrive, and typically the way we operate, it's usually a day event. And starting at about, for the leadership team, starting at about 7 to 7:30, we arrive, unload and rig all the gear. The participants show up around 7:30 to 8. We do a quick safety brief, make sure that they're comfortable with being in a kayak, and tell them what we're going to do, and then we launch them, and we have them teamed up with volunteer fishing guides. And those fishing guides are, what their job is to do is to help as little or as much as the veteran wants. Clearly, we get people that come out that have been fishing all their lives, and they just want the opportunity and don't have the gear. We provide that. But the important thing is also that the fishing guide is not just there to give fishing advice and to help you. He is also your safety line. Depending on the status of the veteran, he may be a wounded veteran, maybe a wounded active duty service member. We're never more than about 30 seconds distance from them so that we can react if they get into trouble. And I'll tell you, in 2 years, even with double amputees coming out, I had never had anyone hurdle or turn over a kayak in the water.
Very cool.
We use fishing kayaks. They tend to be a little wider, more stable.
I don't think I've ever been in one of those.
They look amazingly just like the rest of them. We use sit-on tops, but the big difference you'll see is they tend to be a little wider, a little heavier. They'll have molded in many cases, fishing rod holders.
Oh, that's cool.
In areas where you can secure gear to the deck.
Gotcha. And this is all catch and release?
Well, that's the vast majority of what we do, but we follow each chapter follows the state laws that they're in. You have participants and volunteers that want to keep, as long as they abide by the state laws, there's no problem with that.
Okay. And that's a good point. I imagine that anybody coming out there to fish is going to need a license.
It really depends on the relationship of a particular chapter with their particular state game commission. But I know Maryland has supported us very well for the last 2 years. And each winter, as we're ramping up for the upcoming season, we talk to the state DNR and we remind them who we are and all this. And they're really good about, if we give them the dates and locations of each of our events, they give us a blanket license.
Oh, very cool.
If you're fishing on one of our events, you're covered under our blanket license for that day.
Oh, that's perfect.
Now, that takes coordination with the states. Some states, I've heard, still require a fee. Most states are very good about servicing the veterans. They provide that service for us.
Very cool. I also saw when I was doing my little bit of research on you, you guys were top-rated nonprofit for 2 years in a row.
Yes, we are. I'm ashamed to say I don't know the full details of that, but I do know that Heroes on the Water, and this is more bragging, not a put down of other organizations at all, because they're all great. They all are run with the best intentions. Heroes on the Water, however, almost all of the money we raise, and when I say almost all, I'd have to go look at the IRS statement done each year to be in compliance. A huge portion of our money goes straight to the veteran. We only have a very small handful of people that are paid, and that's at the national level only. So any money that, say, if you were to make a donation, Maryland chapter, that amount would stay with the Maryland chapter. And there are no paid members at the state chapter levels. So we're all 100% volunteers. We've all got our own jobs that we do during the day. So we come together to put these events on. And so every bit of money we raise in Maryland stays in Maryland.
Oh, nice. And is that primarily where the funding comes from for Heroes on the Water, is through donations?
That's right. Like I said, we're a nonprofit or a 501c3 organization. So the way the chapters raise their money is by selling T-shirts and hats, HOW logo on it, which is nice, and people like those. But really, the vast majority of the donations, I would say, are equally or fairly well split between personal donations. For example, if we're set up like we're getting ready, Comic-Con is coming to Baltimore, and we'll have a table set up in there. They've invited. It was nice. Kind of surprising. I didn't quite envision myself in Comic-Con, but at my age. But we're going to set up there. They invited us there, and we're going to have a booth, and people will be able to come by and find out about us, and we'll have a donation box, of course. And the rest of the money comes by soliciting businesses.
Nice.
It's a lot of hitting the pavement and went out shaking hands and telling people who we are, especially the businesses, and soliciting their help and helping us do what we do, because we can't do it without their help. We couldn't buy the kayaks, the fishing gear, the personal flotation devices, and the other safety gear. We also provide lunch for the day at our event. So we have a combination of local caterers that will sign up and say, hey, we'll donate lunch that day. And if we don't particularly have someone lined up for a particular event, then we've got a grill that the local Walmart donated to us, and we'll cook out that day.
Nice.
It actually is it's a fun event. Like I said, it's very stress-free. It's very easygoing. You know, we get there, we get out on the water as a big group, and you're out there fishing and swapping tails and having a good time. And getting back to describing how the day goes, we launch about 8:30, and we typically bring them back in somewhere around 2:00 in the afternoon. It might be a little later, might be a little earlier. Depends on the weather, whether they're tired or not, or whether they're all kinds of things could affect that. But when they come back in, that's when we feed them lunch. And then pretty much we'll stay there as long as they want to. And then we'll pack up everything, and that'll be it for the day.
Wow, that's a good day. That's a good day there.
It is a very good day. Everybody leaves with a smile. Everybody has a good time, and that's our goal.
And before we get into the final three questions, I also wanted to find out if there were any success stories that you wanted to talk about.
Thinking of success stories, dip into military terminology. There's a wide range fan left and right. Especially, we're all on Facebook, so we all read each other's chapters, pages. We have an offline page for leadership for national and state chapters to talk, and we swap success and failures. And the range of reading all of that is remarkable. Having a chapter pop up and say, hey, I've had a troop that's come out once or twice and finally got to the point where they could find that they're in a really dark time in their life coming back. And they'll talk about how they were really seriously considering suicide.
Oh, wow.
And it turned them, and the fact that they were with guys that they could relate to, and I say guys, males, females, it's the same, that they could relate to, that stood what they were going through, or that just listened to them, took the time to listen and not, hey, I'm here for you, and turn it around. Or see that service member who is at a point where he thinks, what good am I for the rest of my life? I have no arms or legs, or I'm blind, or what am I going to do? And I've got a little child. How am I going to teach that child to fish or play with them? I mean, I'm going to be a burden. And then all of a sudden they realize that they're in a kayak and their child or wife is right beside them, and they're having the time of their life. And to know that you had a part in helping with that. I got to tell you, when you started this, you asked me, I want give you a bio and all this. And I've been really cautious of this since I got in this. I don't want this to be about me. None of us in How want it to be about us. Mm-hmm. We want it to be about who we're here for, and that's the service member, person that we're helping, the first responder, the person that's going to come out with that and not have any other cares other than relaxing. That's who we want this to be about. Just seeing those guys come back in with a big smile on their face, and you can see in some cases they came in, they were very quiet, especially if it's their first time. They're quiet, they're kind of a little standoffish, not from the aspect of not wanting to be around anybody, but just not knowing what to expect.
Right.
And then by the end of the day, they've got this big smile and talking with each other, and they're relaxed. And you've really made a difference at that point.
There's probably some pretty good bonds and friendships that are created during the day, too, that probably go on long after just the day of fishing.
It is, and I'll tell you where you really see that is the repeats, the guys that keep coming back, the people that keep coming back. And then you see what started out as a veteran that we were taking out. Suddenly, hey, I want to be a volunteer. I want to be part of your team. I want to help my brothers and sisters. And so great. That's right. And that's how we get a lot of our volunteers. And I will say that our volunteers and leadership team are not a bunch of military guys taking care of military folk. Maryland, for example, is made up. Keith is a defense contractor. Wayne is a local surveyor. We're a combination of service members and regular civilians that care about our veterans and want to take care of them and say thank you.
That's outstanding. Outstanding for sure. So let me ask you this, Coop. You said that there were 34 or so, somewhere around there, different chapters.
Well, please don't hold me that number is somewhere right around there, and it's growing fast, but right around there. I believe.
Right around there, right. And considering that it's growing fast, if somebody decided that there wasn't one near them and they thought, hey, maybe I should be the leader. Maybe I should start one. Is that something that is possible?
It's very possible. Matter of fact, I'm trying by email and phone and everything else to get old friends of mine and in the Fort Campbell, Kentucky area to start a chapter up in that area to take care of the troops at Fort Campbell. I spent time there as well as Fort Bragg. Bragg's taken care of. We got a North Carolina chapter, but we need a chapter. As far as I'm concerned, we need a chapter anywhere there's military and hopefully water to put a kayak in. Some places in the U.S. that may be a little difficult. But what you need to do is if you find out about us and you think, I'd like to be a part of that, but there's not a chapter in your area, then contact any of the chapters and say that. Say, hey, Coop, I saw your page, saw what you're about. I'd like to find out more and possibly even get one going in this area. And what we'll do is we'll give you advice. We'll talk with you about it and make sure you know what you're getting into, because it's not just, hey, guys, let's go fishing today. There's a lot of work to this. But then we get you talking with our national leadership, and they have a very good program set up to start up and bring along new chapters. And we'll help get them married up with the right people so that process can get started.
Oh, great.
Our goal is to have at least one chapter in every state within the next 5 years.
Nice. All right, Coop, I think we're ready for the final 3 questions.
Oh, man. Okay. I feel like I'm getting ready to take a test.
Question number 1. Who would you like to hear on a future episode of the Veteran Resource Podcast?
Oh, there are some. I've had a great opportunity through Hal to meet other organizations, small and large. And there are several that come to mind that I think really do great work. Project Healing Waters. There are a couple of organizations, and I'd have to look up the name. But if anyone ever wanted to get in touch with me, I could get them married up with those organizations. But there's one in Texas that really specializes in traumatic brain injuries and healing the brain, so to speak, exercising the brain and helping that come back to full potential. There are service dog corporations, organizations, not just the government-sponsored one, but there are a lot of nonprofit ones that are out there that have started up to train dogs, especially one that they purposely go to pounds or humane shelters and select. I've had a briefing on it. It's a very extensive selection process, but the right dogs from those, and they train them and turn them into service dogs to help with, again, traumatic brain injuries, PTSD. And it's a really great organization, and it's helped a lot of people. Those type of things I'd love to hear on podcasts, because if you talk to the Warrior Transition Brigades, the units, these are the troops are assigned to while they're going through their treatment. They get bombarded every day with hundreds of offers. Hey, I want to do this for your guys, heroes on the water. I talk to them all the time. This is what we want to do for your people. And so you would think that all of the service members who could really benefit from these organizations would know all about them, because there's so many. But a lot of times what you find out is they don't know about them. And so venues such as yours that have an attraction for veterans to listen to, and I say veterans as a general term, I'm talking active duty as well, and they hear about this and they go, hey, that would help me. So, what you're doing is just as important as what we're doing. You're getting the word out. You're getting help out to our service members.
Thank you. Yeah, that's really the important thing, is making sure that the veterans are taken care of. And, there's so many great organizations that are out there. And I absolutely love finding out about new ones that I've never even heard of before. I did hear about the one that you were talking about. In fact, I sent them an email last week, and I can't remember the name of the organization, but the one that has canines where they get them from the pound and they train them as service dogs. And I really hope they respond, and I hope that I'm able to get them on. But
I'll tell you what, I will, when we finish up, I'll fire off a message to Jim Dolan, our national CEO, as a term, but he's our head guy. And I know he deals with them and talks with them quite a bit, and I'll have him let them know about you, and we'll attack that target from 2 different venues there.
Oh, that sounds great. Yeah, they sound like a really good organization, and I would love more veterans to find out about them. Okay, question number 2, Coop. What upcoming project has you fired up right now?
Well, the one that's going to kick off this weekend is our Solomon's event, Solomon's, Maryland. Not officially endorsed, of course. I have to put that disclaimer, but the Naval Air Station, Patuxent River, Solomon's Island, Solomon's Navy MWR facility is this the second year in a row they've supported us in allowing us to put an event on at Solomon's Navy MWR facility. And it's a great facility. It's an old base that has been turned into a morale, welfare, recreation. And so we'll be launching from there Saturday morning. But other than that, it gives you've got a military ID card. It gives you a chance to make a very inexpensive weekend getaway because they turned all the housing from the old base into rental cottages.
Oh, wow.
Oh, yeah. Very cost effective for the military, authorized military users. And they also have tent camp spaces and RV spaces. Houses have been turned into rental bungalows, hotel type rooms. And then, of course, they've got a pool, a putt-putt, all kinds of activities. It's a very laid back, nice area. And Solomon's is a very friendly little town. Had surprisingly a lot to do there. And it makes for a very relaxing weekend. And that's going to be this weekend. And so Saturday morning, the ones that are not staying for a weekend or overnight, they'll all gather at Solomon's, and we'll, just like I said, we'll brief them, get it up, and get them out on the water having a good time going chasing fish.
Very cool. It sounds like an awesome event, and I've been to Solomon's Island, I think, twice now, and it's just a great little area, great little town.
It is.
All right, and this is the final question, Coop. This is the brain stretcher for you. If you woke up tomorrow and you found out that somebody made an anonymous donation of $10 million to your organization, what would you do with it?
Well, that would be assuming that I got to make all the decisions. But I think I could safely say that as an organization, how I would like to think that we would immediately make sure that all the chapters were equipped with the equipment they needed so they didn't have to say, hey, I'm sorry, buddy, I'm full up on this event. Can you come to the next one? That's probably the one thing that any chapter coordinator or member ever wants to say is, I'm sorry, I don't have an open slot for you.
Yeah.
So make sure that there was enough equipment for each chapter would certainly ensure that we could get at least one chapter in every state, but more importantly, take that money and put it to use directly for the veteran to make sure that those veterans, those active duty troops, especially the wounded ones, get an opportunity to get out, relax, and to help their healing in whatever way we can.
Excellent. Excellent. So for that person out there that has the $10 million and you're trying to figure out, hey, what should I do with this money? You just heard what Coop will do with it. So for that person that wants to give you the money, or for anybody else out there that wants to get in touch with you, what is the best way?
Well, we have several ways. If you want to donate, you can, every one of our chapter Facebook pages has a donate button that you can hit. It makes it very easy to make a donation. And for those people who are concerned that their donations stay in their communities, that's an excellent way, because any money that is donated straight to a chapter stays in that state.
Great.
Maybe you're not so concerned about that and they want to help the organization as a whole, they can go to our national webpage, which is Heroes on the Water, all one word, .org, and there's a donation button there. The other way they can do when you see us out at one of these information tables, for lack of a better term, that we set up, like I said, we're all volunteers. We've got families, jobs, and all that. And most of us, when you see us out there, if it's during a week, that means we've taken our vacation time to set up that booth to try and get donations, because without them, we can't do what we do. The kayaks cost money, the fishing gear costs money, the food costs money if we have to provide it, the gas getting back and forth. We've got a trailer that holds all of our kayaks, which is great because we were able to purchase it on donated funds because it hauls all our gear, but it sure burns up a lot of gas because it's big. Oh, yeah. So just think about your own daily life and the money you spend, to do what you do yourself or with your family. We have those same expenses. So when you see us out there, whether you donate or not, and who we're servicing, and what you're going to hear is not so much about who we are, but it's who we're helping. And through that, what we hope to do is get the word out.
Excellent. Well, I will help a little bit with that, and I'm going to make sure that I put all of the links to the website and the Facebook page and where people can go and donate. I'll put that all in the show notes so that people can get over and connect with you. And hopefully you'll be seeing a lot more people on the water with you, Coop.
I hope so. The more, the merrier. I would love, it's what I said before. The thing where I'm most scared of is having to turn somebody down at a particular event. I'm sorry I don't have enough gear. But the flip side of that is if I'm pushing the full extent available equipment, I know I'm getting the word out. So the more, the merrier. The more people I have trying to come to an event, the more impetus I have to go out and purchase more equipment.
Gotcha.
If I could create a flotilla out there, I would be happy.
Excellent. Well, thank you so much for the interview. I learned a lot about the organization.
Thank you, man. I appreciate it. Well, come out and volunteer with us, man. If nothing else, get out there in the middle of it and go out with us one day and see what it's about firsthand. I think you'll really enjoy it.
Yep, I will definitely be taking a look at the page and seeing what upcoming events you have that kind of fit my extremely busy schedule. But I seem to always have some time to get out and have some fun. So
you've got a standing invitation, guy. Come on out.
Thank you so much, Coop. You have a great one.
You too. Thank you again.
So I just took a look at the calendar, and I think I'm going to be able to make it out to the final event for the Maryland chapter of Heroes on the Water. It is going to be in October, and it's not too far from my house. So if you're in the Maryland area and you want to hang out, I think you should go and check out the show notes at veteranpodcast.com/027, where you can find the links to the Facebook page and also the website, and you can get signed up to go to the final event in October as well. Thank you so much for listening to this episode. I had so much fun talking to Coop, and we will see you in episode 28.